These are the Nothing Headphone 1, and they're unlike any other headphones on the market. Like all of Nothing's products, they've got a unique design with a retro-futuristic look, but they also come packed with features that you'll often find only in premium headphones and do it at a fraction of the cost of some of their competitors. That being said, that reduction in cost does come with some downsides, and depending on what you value, that may or may not be a deal breaker for you. So with that said, let's get into it. Hey everyone, Kyle Erickson here. Nothing has always been a really interesting company to me. Design-wise, their products are instantly recognizable at a time when most electronics these days feel somewhat generic. And I just think it's great to see a smaller company in this space taking risks in that sense. When it comes to the Headphone 1, I would say that these might be Nothing's boldest design, with their signature transparent retro-futuristic aesthetic combined with square ear cups that make these truly unique looking. These come in two colors, black or white. I've got the white version, and the transparent caps on the ends of the ears will show off the drivers within them, with the standard Nothing branding and model on the right side and sound by KEF on the other. More on that later, but just like on their earbuds, Nothing has put red and white indicators for left and right channels, giving you a nice visual cue of how they go on. As far as materials go, the transparent portion of these is plastic, along with a headband, but the rectangular housing of the ear cups, along with the L-shaped bracket that connects them, is aluminum. And overall, they feel like a really well-built, premium product. If I'm being honest, my initial thought was that these could have been stepped up even further if they had used an aluminum headband, but I get that the plastic probably does make more sense weight-wise. These are 329 grams, so they're slightly heavier than average as it stands, and with a metal headband, that would not only increase, but would likely be a lot more rigid and less comfortable, and at least for me, these do feel nice and snug without too much clamping force. The ear cups do have 90 degrees of rotation and fit perfectly over my ears, although that may not be the case for everyone, but the cups are nice and soft, and I can wear these for hours with or without glasses without any issues. Sometimes over-ear headphones will tend to dig my glasses into my head, and it makes a spot on the back of my ear twitch, which is super annoying, but I don't get that at all with these, and I just find these to be really well designed, not only in the level of build quality and comfort, but with the controls as well. There are exactly 0 touch controls on the Headphone 1, which I'm all for, and you'll do everything from the right ear cup, where you'll have a total of 3 controls. On the back edge of the ear cup at the top, you'll have a roller button that will pause or play tracks when clicked. Holding it down will change the noise control, and rolling it left or right will adjust the volume level. Below that, there's a paddle for skipping back and forth through tracks, answering or ending calls, and holding it in either direction can fast forward or rewind with supported apps. Finally, there's one other button sitting flat on the ear cup in the upper right-hand corner that by default, at least right now, will only work with a Nothing Phone 3 when clicked, and that's called Channel Hop. That is going to let you cycle through different music services and playlists that you've got added through the Nothing X app, which is kind of handy as you don't need to open up a physical app or fumble around with your phone. And similarly, holding that same button will launch Voice AI, which will start a voice conversation with ChatGPT without ever having to touch your phone. I find all the buttons fairly intuitive and easy to use, but at any point, if you feel like you want to switch around the button functionality, you can do that within the Nothing X app, which is a great little companion app. Within there, you can do the things that I mentioned, like changing controls and customizing your channel hop space, but you can also change around your noise cancellation and spatial audio settings, and fully customize your sound profile from Nothing's available presets to creating your own within the simple circular control interface, or with a more traditional multi-band EQ slider system. Now, I would say that I've got a fairly decent ear for what sounds good, at least to me, but I'm not always great adjusting EQ values myself. But the cool thing is, you can actually share and import EQ settings in here via QR code. So, say someone has fine-tuned their EQ, those can easily be shared and imported here. As far as how they sound with the default profile, I've been pretty impressed so far. There are 40mm drivers in each ear cup that have been developed in a partnership with KEF, which I was personally excited about. When I redid my desk setup in the winter, KEF was one of the brands that I was looking at for speakers, and they were just a little bit out of my price range, but by and large, they make really high quality stuff, and looking at the Headphone 1, I would say that they're very good, but not amazing. The default profile is quite warm and smooth, which I think makes these great for long listening sessions, but they do lack a bit of detail or crispness in the highs, which can be addressed to some extent with the proper EQ. I tend to listen to a wide variety of music, and I also use these a ton for watching content, where the soundstage is good, and with spatial audio enabled, they do a good job of immersing you in whatever it is that you're watching. I've used them to edit the last couple of these videos as well, and I would say that there are definitely better sounding headphones out there, but you'd have to spend a lot more than the $299 USD or $369 Canadian price tag on the Headphone 1. This is the QR code for the settings that I've personally found work best for me if you want to check that out, but I have experienced different audio quality levels depending on the type of connection as well. First of all, the primary way that you're likely going to connect these is through Bluetooth, and the Headphone 1 come with Bluetooth 5.3 that supports AAC, SBC, and higher performing LDAC codecs. They're super easy to pair up, where on Android they'll just show up when you turn them on, or if you do ever need to put them in pairing mode, there's a little button on the inside of the ear cup that you'll hold down for 2 seconds to put them in pairing mode. I've had absolutely no issues with connection drops, the range is excellent, and they do have dual device support, so you can easily switch between 2 paired devices. As far as latency goes, if you're watching content, there's really not any noticeable lag, but I probably wouldn't use these for gaming. There's a setting in Nothing X to reduce latency for things like gaming, but I do find it can be just a hair off with things like impact noises. And the same goes for when I edit these videos where I can't have any lag. So when I am doing that, I always connect these with a 3.5mm cable. The Headphone 1 will support a wired connection this way or through USB-C, but I have found audio through USB-C, at least through my Mac, to be quite digital sounding, so I prefer to stick with the headphone jack. The only disadvantage to using that is you will lose some of the button functionality that you get with USB-C, where a USB-C connection will still use the headphone controls for skipping tracks, pausing or playing, and adjusting volume levels on the device, and the headphone jack will just adjust the volume on the headphones themselves, and you can still switch the noise controls. Speaking of which, I would say that these do a pretty good job at passive noise isolation, just putting them on, and combined with active noise cancellation, do a fantastic job of blocking out any surrounding noise. I know when I wear these with music playing on the highest ANC setting, it's really hard to hear any environmental noise. You will occasionally hear the odd sound, and again, they're not going to be quite as good as a set of Sony XM6 headphones, but for 90% of use cases, the Headphone 1 are more than good enough. Transparency mode is kind of the same story, where it works quite well but not as good as some of the more expensive models. I've heard some people say that their voice sounds muffled or boomy in this mode, but I don't personally find that to be the case. The odd time it does seem to introduce sound unevenly, say if something is happening predominantly on the left side of my head. Sometimes it does come through a little too much on the right, but for the most part it does what it's supposed to do. In my opinion, the only use case where handling environmental noise falls short is on calls. Something that you're likely going to run into if you're using these with your phone often, where the 4-mic array offers decent quality on its own, but voice isolation in busy areas can tend to struggle a bit. This is what the mics sound like on the Nothing Headphone 1. As you can tell, it's not the greatest by any means, but it is good enough for calls. But
This should give you a pretty good idea of what to expect.
That being said, I don't think that you're buying these to take calls on, but one thing that you probably will care about is battery life, and these are outstanding in that department. The Headphone 1 have a 1040 mAh battery that can last up to 80 hours with ANC off and 35 with it on if you're using the AAC codec, where it drops down to 54 hours on LDAC with ANC off and 30 with LDAC and ANC on. And when it does come time to charge, they charge from 0 to 100% in about 2 hours, but you can get between 2.5 and 5 hours of playback off a 5-minute charge, which is fantastic. With the last week or so of usage, I've never had a low battery warning where I'll just plug these in with a provided USB-C cable every couple of days, and all in all, I've been super impressed with these headphones. I think at $299 USD or $369 Canadian, you're getting an extremely well-built set of headphones that sound good, and the unique design for me is the icing on the cake. I should also mention that Nothing includes all your cables and a nice little hardshell carrying case, but I would love to know what you guys think about these. Are you into this design, and are these something that you would buy yourself, or would you rather have a more traditional looking set of headphones? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, you may have noticed that I've been using the Nothing Phone 3 with these headphones throughout this video, and that's what I'll be looking at next week. So stay tuned for my full review on that, but if you enjoyed this video or you found it useful, feel free to hit that like button. If you'd like to see more tech-related content, or help me design a feature that uses ANC to cancel out the sound of your responsibilities, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next upload.